So let's continue with some more examples. In the previous example, we was creating two text boxes and was retrieving data from the database into these two text boxes. But now let's see how we can use a list box and then present all the sensors that are available in the database in a list like this. And then this is our previous application with our two text boxes, but now we don't need those, so I just delete them. And now we should use a list box instead, and we find it here in the toolbox, list box. So we just drag it in here, and make this a little bigger and have it like this. And in that list box, we are going to show all the sensors that are stored in the database like this. You can have the button under here. So when you click read, this list should be showing all the sensors that are stored in the database. So that's our new user interface. And first we typically need to change the name for this one. Instead of this default name, we can just call it list sensors or something. And then we just go to the code. And then the code is more or less the same, but instead of these two text boxes, we need to use this list. So then we have this list sensors, which is this list box, and then we can use this items add and then the name of the sensor like this. Like this, more or less. Add. This intelligence killing me. Let's take it from scratch. Then lists sensors add, and then we use items like this. Then we just need to delete some part of it. Then inside here, we can also start by creating so now, just bear with me. Just need here. So inside this if, here I can start by creating a string called sensor that are retrieving the sensor name from the database like this. And then we can just add this element into the list box. Then by using list sensors add items add and this name of the sensor, which is then just sensor name like this. So that should be it. And then of course we need to change our query string. So now we need to just select sensor name from sensor. And now we are not using this where, because now we are going to retrieve all the sensors from the database. And then basically select sensor name from sensor. And then here inside this if and data reader read, then we just put that sensor name into a variable called sensor name, and then we just use list sensors items add, and then fill it with this sensor name that are retrieving inside this here. But in addition to if, since now we are going to retrieve all the values from the database, you also of course need to have a while loop. So then we just use while like this. Then first we have an if, check if this dr is not equal to 0, not equal to 0 or null. This means if we are able to retrieve some data from the database, then it will go into this while loop and then iterate through the different elements that are stored in the database. So now we have updated code, and here is our graphical user interface. So we are going to fill out this list box with all the sensors that are stored in the database. So if I just copy this query to the SQL Server Management Studio like this, so now we should be able to read these sensors and present them here in this list box. So let's just run our application. So far it's empty, but when I click this button, it are presenting these sensors that are stored in the database in this list box like this. Of course, you can also improve the user interface. You can have put in a label like this, showing the sensors or something like that. So basically, that's how we can use a list box and then retrieve data from the database. Let's see what's happening when we click on this read multiple times. Let's click read. Now you see, now it just add more sensors in the bottom of the list. Typically, we just want to, every time I click on this read button, we typically also want to just clear this list. So then you can just use list sensors items and dot clear like this. Now let's run it now. So I click once. So now we have these sensors from 1 to 8. Click once more, and then it clears the contents of this list box before he fills it up again like this. That's basically the application where we are using this list box to fill out values from the database. I guess you can also improve the code a little bit. Typically we don't want to have all this code inside the event handler, so we can create a separate method here which you can name get sensors or something like this. And then basically we just copy or move the code that are put here into this new method called get sensors, and then we just call this method here in the event handler like this. And you can just define this as a private method, and it should not return anything, so then you just specify void here like this. So basically it's the same code, but we have just put the code that was previously here in the event handler for the button, we put it into a separate method like this. And when we run it, it should be working in the same way. Typically also we can remove the connection string and put it here in top of the class like this, because then we can have multiple methods that are using the same connection string like this. So now we have just restructured the code, but if you run the application, it should work in the same manner. So then when you just click here, the data are presented here in this list box. So then let's continue to improve our application. So we have created this list box where we are just presenting the sensors, but typically we want also to have this sensor type. This could be what here we could use a ComboBox. So here we just inside, when we click here on this arrow, we will list all the sensor types that are available in the database, and when we select one of them, we will only present the sensors that has this specific sensor type. So every time we change sensor type here, we will update this list and only showing the sensors that are of the sensor type that we are showing here. So let's see how we can improve this existing app, create this new ComboBox, and create the necessary code to make this working. So then you just start by dragging here, make some space for this new ComboBox. So then you find the ComboBox here in list, ComboBox, just drag it in here. You can also have a label on top here. So here on the label we should show these sensor types like this, a spelling mistake. Then you can make this equal size as this one. like this. And then we can specify the name, some spelling mistake here, sensor types, and then also need to specify a proper name for this ComboBox. And then we just select it, go to properties and find this default name. We can call it CBO, which is short for ComboBox, and the proper name sensor types, like this. So by clicking the button, so far we are getting the sensors from the database here, and also next we need to also fill out the sensor types. So let's go to the code. Then we can so here we have a method for the get sensors. Then we can create a similar method for the sensors type. So then we can call it get sensor types or something like this. And then here in the read button we can also use first we get the sensor types, then we get the sensors, and then we will improve it step by step. But first we just need to make sure that we are able to retrieve data from the database. So then here get sensor types, then we can select here, select sensor type from sensor. We start by that, and then we will improve it later. And then we will fill out not this list box, but this ComboBox CBO sensor types items. So you just start by clearing the contents. Then instead of the sensor name, we need to have the sensor type here as well. Then we just need to fill it out. Instead of list sensor, we need to use this sensor like this. Sensor types. Perhaps we have a spelling mistake here. I'll just make sure to check the name. We have sensor types like this. Yeah, so now we just copy this one and use that one instead. So now we just fill out this ComboBox with the different sensor types that are stored in the database. So let's just run this one. And now this one is empty, this one is empty. We click read. We now get a list of sensor types here, and we get a list of sensors here in this list box. And here in the ComboBox we get the list of sensor types. But you see in the database, if you go back to the database, select sensor name and sensor type, or basically I just select here, select star from sensor, and then you see we have for different sensors, we have this one is temperature, this one is temperature, but here we typically want to just show the unique different sensor types that are stored in the database. So then we can go back to our code and here change this query and use this distinct, meaning we are only going to retrieve sensor types that are unique in the database. You can also choose to order by sensor type also to make it in the alphabetical order like this. Let's see what's happening now. So now it's empty, this one is empty, click read, and then you see we only get the unique sensor types, which is level, pressure and temperature. And now when we next now select temperature, we should only show the sensors that is of type temperature. So let's see how we can do that. And typically we don't need this button anymore, so I can delete that one. And instead of clicking the button, we just change element here in the list, so we can create a new event handler by just double clicking that one. So then we get a new event handler. I just put it here on top. So now instead of using this button, we just put the code in this new event handler called ComboBox sensor types when selected, when we change one of the items inside the ComboBox, like this. So then you can just remove that one. And now typically we want to get the sensor types when the application starts, so you can put that one in this public form like this. And then let's see what's happening now when we run it. Okay, it's a build error. Button read does not, so then you just need to remove that one and build it, and now we can run it. So now this one is popping up when we start the application. Now when we change something here, this list is inserted with values from the database, but still it's not working because when you change the pressure, it shows all the sensors, and when you show temperature, it shows all the sensors. So we need to update the logic to only show sensors based on what we select here. So then we start by updating this get sensors method which we have here. So far it gets all the sensors that are stored in the database, but typically here we need to have a here statement. So then here sensor type like this equals to, and then we can have an input to this method. So then string sensor type selected or something, and then we will create this later in other part of the code. So then select sensor name from sensor where sensor type equals to, as this is a string, we need to have this one plus this one. Sensor type, and then an end here plus this one here. Now select sensor name from sensor where sensor type equals to the one that we get into this method. And now we need to go back to our main code here. So then before we call this sensor get sensors, here we need to figure out which element that we select in this combo box. So then here you can create a string sensor type selected equals to the combo box selected items to string, like this. And then this should be an input to this get sensors method, like this. Now let's just run our code. It seems to work, and let's run the application. Now we get these three different sensor types. I select level, it only shows sensor 4. When I select pressure, it shows sensor 3 and 6. And temperature, it shows these sensors, and then you can compare with the values in the database. So now for temperature, it should show sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 5, 7 and 8, like this. And when you show or select level, it's only the sensor 4. And when you show or select pressure, it's sensor 3 and 6, like this. So now our application should work. So then you can easily change the sensor type here, and then only showing the sensors for that specific sensor type. So now we have made this working application where we select the sensor type here, and based on what we select here, we only present the sensors that is of that sensor type. And that information are retrieved from the SQL Server. But let's improve the code step by step. First, typically we want to this method that we created to retrieve sensor types and sensors, typically those should be put into a separate class. So let's see how we can do that. And then basically I go to the Solution Explorer, click on my project and click Add New Folder. A new folder, I can call it Classes. And here I should put my classes. In this application we are going to only create one class. So then click Add New Item and specify here class and then the name of the class. We can call it sensor.cs. And then this one will be created here inside this file. Now basically the first thing we need to do is just to copy the code that we have already created here in this form. So typically we should not have all this database code here directly in the form, but we should put it here in the class. So it's a good practice to separate GUI code that should be here and code that are dealing with the database. So that code should typically be put here in the database. So then basically I can start by copying this method, put it here as a method inside the class like this, and then do the same for this one as well. Then I can clean up here later. Those two, and then also the connection string that we have put on top here. This one. I will remove it here later, but first I just need to copy it, put it here on top of the class. So now we have created a class called sensor, and here we have a connection string, and then you have two class methods. One gets sensor types and the other one gets sensors like this. But also we need to update some part of the code. Typically this method then cannot be private. It should be changed to public. Same here. Also this class can be of type public like this, and also some other things that we need to change. So here previously we just was operating on the ComboBox directly and the ListBox directly here in the code, but so since we now are in a separate class, we don't have access to the ComboBox and the ListBox. Those are only available from the form. So here we typically need to change that one to put it, not put it into the ComboBox and the ListBox, but put it into a general list. So then here we can just specify a list like this, a list of strings of sensor types like this. And then instead of sensor ComboBox here, we just need to use this, we can call it string, we can have sensor, I can call it an item of sensor types or something. And then I just replace this one like this. And then items, sensor types. And then this one doesn't need items, so here just item sensor types, add on the name of the sensor that they are retrieving from the database. I can do the same for the other function or method here. Then here we create a list not of item sensor type but of sensors. Then we replace this one like this, remove the add, and then item sensors dot add and the name of the sensor like this. So now these two methods should be good, this get sensor types and that get sensors. Now we just need to update the code here in the form one.cs in order to make sure it reads and use these methods that are part of this sensor class. I guess there are one more thing we need to add here in these two methods. Now we need to add our return value. So here in the get sensor types we need to use return, and then in this case item sensor types like this. And for this other method get sensors we need to return the item sensors like this. Now this class and the method should be okay. Guess there are one more thing. The original methods for get sensor types and get sensor, they return nothing, but now they need to return this list, then list of strings like this, and then intelligence list of string like this. So that should be the return value for this method, and it should be the same for this other method. So then instead of void, we need to return a list of strings, and basically we are returning a list of sensors, and here we return a list of sensor types. And next we need to update this method and this method, and we need to remove all this database part here, because now that part has been moved to the class. So also this one is no longer needed. I guess all this database code are now put into this separate class. So let's remove it. This. And now let's see how we can get data and use the methods that are now part of this sensor class. So then we just basically use here we can make an object of this sensor class. So then the sensor equals to new sensor like this. And now it's complaining here, it using a namespace doesn't find it. So then here on top here we need to just include it. So then using sensor app.classes, and then he gets access to this sensor class that are put into the classes folder like this. So then sensor like this, sensor equals to new sensor. This intelligence is killing me sometimes, like this. So now when we have created an object of this class sensor, then we can get access to the different methods. Then we just type sensor dot, and then we get access to the to these get sensor types like this. And here the intelligence gives us more or less the code like this. So it's a spelling mistake. Sensor like this. No, actually we are retrieving the data from this. We are using this get sensor types, which is part of this sensor class, which we have here. Get sensor types. And then basically we are filling out the combo box with the items from the database that are generated here. So now this one should be okay, this get sensor types. And then do the same for this get sensors. So then we need to also here create this object, this sensor class like this. And then now we can use this pre-generated code in order to retrieve values from these get sensors and then put them into this list box that we have here on the graphical user interface. So this first one, this puts the sensors into this combo box, and this part put the sensors into this list box here. So now I think we should be more or less finished. Let's just run the application. I guess the application should be working in the same manner, but now we have put most of the code into a separate class instead, and that's to improve the code structure. Now these are retrieved from the database. I can select level, then only sensor 4 is listed here. Pressure, sensor 3 and 6 is showing, and temperature, then sensor 1 2, 5, 7, and 8 is presented. So the application works in the same manner, but and also this read, we are not using it anymore. So basically I can just remove that one, remove the button like this, and just run it once more. So now we don't need this button, I just have the ComboBox and the ListBox like this. But now most of the code for retrieving the sensor types and the sensor are now put into this separate class where we have two methods, one for get sensor types, another one for get sensors like this. So before we are finished with this application, I will introduce one more improvement. So now the connection string is hard coded in the C# code, but typically we want to put the connection string in a separate file called appconfig. And that makes it easier to change the connection string without changing the C# code itself. And then we can also make an executable application and then distribute that application to others that do not have Visual Studio installed. Then they can only open the configuration file and change or update the connection string. So then it's possible to use another database than the database I'm using. So let's see how we can do that. So then basically we just need to create this app.config file. So now just right click here, click add new item. So then I can find it here under data, and this configuration file is typically an XML file. So I select this one and change the name to app.config, which is the name that should be used for this configuration file. So that's app.config. Click add. And then this file is created here and will be part of the project. And then so far it's just empty this connection string, but I just created the connection string here, so I just copy this in order to save some time, and then like this. So here, instead of having the connection string, here in the class on top here we know how the connection string, I will remove it later. So this connection string that I have created here as part of the C# code now is part of this configuration file instead. So then we have the same connection string here. So then I can just save that file, and then I will remove it from this location. And in order to get access to the configuration here in this appconfig file, we need to just basically just here string connection string, and then we need to use a functionality called configuration manager like this. Configuration manager dot connection string, and then this is the name of the string which we have here in this file. So then database connection string, of course you can change this to whatever you like, but the name needs to be the same here. So that then dot connection string, which is this name like this. And then you see when I started to use this configuration manager, this assembly or using was created. So then using system.configuration, so this configuration manager is part of this assembly. These are not used, so I can remove those. Now let's see what's happening. So now I not hard coded the connection string here in the C# code, but I'm getting the connection string that are created here in the appconfig here. But the application should work in the same manner. So let's see if it still works. Now I'm getting the sensor types from the database, and then by selecting one of the sensor types, I'm retrieving the specific sensors for that sensor type. So the application still works, but now we have improved our application by putting most of the code into a separate class with separate methods that deals with the database part, retrieving data from the database in this case. And also the connection string has been put into a separate app config file like this. So finally, let's see how we can create an executable file of this application, meaning we can run the application without having Visual Studio installed. So then basically I can just click on the project, select publish. Here you have different options. I will just publish it to a folder on my hard drive, click next, click folder, and then specify a folder on my hard drive. So here in my temporary folder, I can just put it here in a folder called sensor app or something, and then click finish, click close, and let's see, no, this application should be putting in here, but first we just need to click on this publish button, like this, and now basically the application has been copied into this folder. So now basically I can shut down Visual Studio and just run the application without Visual Studio. So here you see the executable application that has been created, sensorapp.exe. So I can just double click on that one, and then it works in the same manner. But now it works independently of Visual Studio. I can also easily change the connection string by opening this file, sensorapp.dll.config. And then you see that's the same contents of this app config file. And here you have the connection string. So then I can easily change the connection string without changing the C# code. I can just change the server, the database, etc. here, username, password, and just save it. And then next time I run the application, it will use that new database instead, like this. And then basically I can just make a zip file of that application, and I can send it on email to my client or customer, and then he can start using that application without having Visual Studio installed on his computer.